session for personnel, contractual matters, update on the monthly litigation reports. Invited will be Ms. Ahern, Mr. Hope-Tailing, and when they arrive, Dr. Watson and Ms. Lansky.
Well, they're going to probably have some time.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Everybody in order. Everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. District announcements. A special vote will take place on Tuesday, February 9th. Voters will vote on two propositions: the sale of the former School 1 building and a parking lot construction in School 14. There is no future tax impact on either proposition. Polling times, locations, and other details can be found on the district's website. Algebra, driver's ed, Zumba, mindful parenting, and more are part of the 2016 Spring Adult Continuing Education courses offered through the Troy City School District. Classes begin February 22nd. Please visit the district website for details. On January 22nd, Troy City School District Superintendent John Carmelo joined other superintendents to meet with state legislators to discuss issues facing schools. Superintendents focused on four main issues: state aid funding, the property tax cap formula, teacher and principal evaluation systems, and state education department capacity. Troy Middle School and Troy High School are holding parent-teacher conferences this week, which is why there's no parking outside. Public input on agenda and non-agenda items. The Board of Education recognizes that it serves the residents of the large city school district of Troy, New York, and so we encourage public attendance at our meetings, and we welcome your comments. Please limit your comments to no more than 5 minutes in length, so that everyone who wants to speak has an equal chance to do so. If you are unable to finish your remarks during the 5-minute time frame, you can supplement them by submitting a written statement to the board clerk. The board regrets that because of time constraints, it cannot respond during public comment periods to questions raised. We know that all speakers will display the courtesy and respect in their remarks that is emblematic of our Troy community, and we appreciate your input. Is there anyone wishing to speak this evening? If not, I'll turn it over to Mr. Carmel for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Schofield. Mr. McDonald is on his way. He did text me this morning and said he may be a little bit late, so we'll get started. I have a couple other things to talk about anyway. I have often thanked the board and given my appreciation for all their work. They volunteer their time and a lot of time, and they do it for the right reasons. They're here for the students, and we really appreciate it. The New York State School Boards Association also shows them their appreciation a few times a year. And so I have some certificates tonight. I'll read both of them. The first is what's called a Board Excellence Award. The Board Excellence Award NISBA's recognition program is comprised of 4 achievement levels. Members qualify for recognition points by participating in NISBA development activities, such as the New Member Academy, Board Officers Academy, NISBA Annual Conference, legal conferences, regional workshops, or district-level custom improvement programs. So in addition to all the things they're doing in district, our board members are also at trainings and professional development workshops outside the district. Our 2 Board Excellence Awards this year go to Jason Schofield and Ann Apicella. There's also something called a Board Mastery Award, which is a Level 3 award. Our records indicate one or more of our board members, this is from NISBA, have earned the Board Mastery Award. Enclosed, please find the Mastery Award certificate, and they also get a commemorative portfolio and a coupon for a free 1-day seminar or an online course. Our 2 board members who have reached this plateau are Carol Harvin and Mary Morrow Giroux.
Very nice.
Thank you again very much for all the board members. Some of them got their awards last year, so thank you for all you do every day. I would suggest that we'll go through the agenda, and then I assume that Senator McDonald will be here by then.
Absolutely. On that note, we turn to page 2 for approval of minutes as listed. Discussion. All those in favor? Superintendent's recommendations for human resources. Move for consent agenda items 1 through 8. All those in favor? Superintendent recommendations, staff matters classified. Move for consent agenda items 1 through 9. Just on number 3, I think it should say Davey, not Dave, for Marge.
Cut off the Y.
You could have said it.
The electronic one says Davey.
Davey. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All those in favor? Superintendent's recommendations for programs. Move for consent agenda items 1 through 3. Discussion. All those in favor? Superintendent recommendations for business and finance. Move for consent agenda items 1 through 5. Discussion. All those in favor? Special vote on proposition number 1. Discussion.
Discussion. Maybe we need a district or city vote on it. I know for years it's always been for $10, but how do we have to increase it?
It's $10 for the class, and it's $120 for the work in the polls.
It's $9
$9 per hour. Okay.
We increased it last year.
Yeah, we had to increase it.
Up as minimum wage went up.
The minimum wage continues to go up.
So Carol, you asking that we should raise it?
Yes, yes.
That's something we can look into for the May election, obviously. I think we're comparable to what they get for the regular elections.
I just hear people say it's been the same and they're just wondering when it could be increased.
But there's never a shortage of them. All those in favor? Aye. Board resolution settlements. Move for consent agenda items 1 through 2. Discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Future meetings. February 9th, 2016. Please note is the special election. Polling hours are 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at your normal school polling place. February 10th, 2016, 6 o'clock here. We'll have a special meeting to canvass the votes. February 24th, 2016, we'll be at School 2 for Draft 2 of the 2016-2017 proposed budget. At this time, we'll turn it back over to Mr. Carmel.
Thank you very much. And our guest of honor is here. I have talked a lot to the board, and we do our budget workshops. In fact, I said it when we were doing Draft 1. We have a great relationship with our legislators. They're always advocating for what we need, lobby day and throughout the year. And for us, the best at that has been John McDonald, not just saying that because he's here. He's always accessible and always on the right side of issues and does a great job in supporting us. So he has to come tonight and present to you. So here he is. Sure.
Well, thank you, John, and first of all to the board, thank you for the opportunity just to stop by and say a few words. And Kathy, obviously, we're very familiar, and it's good to see Adam and the rest of the administration here. We made a good decision with Adam, and I'll tell you that up front. Adam, I was fortunate enough to hire Adam when I think that he was still in sophomore in high school, maybe. I trusted him with being treasurer at a young age, by the way. So you got a good man there. I know that you make a great team here. And to be honest with you, I have no real major agenda here. I thought, it's this time of year, we're going through the budget process. I thought I'd share a couple of thoughts with you, what's going on, but more importantly, give you an opportunity to ask the questions about the budget before it's passed as opposed to after the fact. And we can also touch on any other issues if you want. As John knows, I sent the runs, as we call it. It's not diarrhea, it's actually the education runs. When the budget was first put out there. And if you look at it from the Troy perspective, it doesn't look pretty right now. And it's for a couple different reasons. One of the bigger changes is that because of the transition going on with charter school students, it plays a large role. We do have a unique situation going on in regards to how the aid is done with transition aid. But when you look at the numbers, if you didn't know any better, you'd say, my God, we're getting almost $600,000 less than what we were getting the year before. And in operational aid, I don't talk capital because capital is a reimbursement. And the reality is that's what it says on the sheet. That's hopefully not what it's going to be when this is all done. And we have the global issues of education aid, and then we have the unique situations which Troy and Albany and Lansingburg fall in. And I'm very lucky because I get to represent all three of them. So at least I've become somewhat familiar with the issues. On the global perspective of education, the governor had announced that he included $2.3 billion in education aid, which sounds like a lot of money. It is a lot of money, I think it is. It sounds great. However, that was over a 2-year period. So when you boil it down, it's about $980 million that's proposed in the budget. He always traditionally starts low, for a lot of reasons, because he knows we in the legislature are going to try to add more money. The Board of Regents had asked for $2.4 billion. We are submitting a letter to the Speaker asking to meet that Board of Regents request of $2.4 billion. Well, that's a request. I wish it was that simple.
You mean it doesn't happen?
Shoot a little higher.
Yeah.
And you know, and candidly, you know, in the last 3 years, rightfully so, I can only speak for the last 3 years because I've only been there 2 years. We pushed almost $3 billion in additional aid globally into education. It's $3 billion. It's a lot of money. When you think about the aid to local governments, it's a total of $785 million for all the governments total. We did a $3 billion increase in the last 3 years. That being said, education as a whole went through some extremely draconian cuts back in 2008, 2009. And it's been just a very gradual recovery as our health has improved as a state. We've been able to put money back to what our priorities are. Education is a priority. All said and done, when this budget is done, we'll be spending about $25 billion a year in education across the state of New York. And arguably, in many aspects, it's still not going to be enough because we're going to have spots that are missing. So anyways, we will be putting our one-house budget in 1st of March. So what happens is the Assembly puts their budget request in, Senate puts their budget request in, and then game on. By March 31st, something's going to happen. We will be putting in, like I said earlier, that $2.4 billion match. Whether that actually goes in or not, I don't know. It will be up significantly over the $900 million or $980 million that the government proposed. And then we get into that argument. Where do you put the money? Now, I'm lucky that I actually represent schools in 3 different BOCES. So I've gotten a message from Questar. We met about 2 weeks ago. I have Capital Region BOCES. I didn't know that place pretty well. And I also, because at Waterford, I get to go with Warren, Washington, and Saratoga County. So the good news is that everybody's on the same page. They all have the same exact request. But enmeshed in that is the gap elimination adjustment to get rid of GEA and then fix the foundation aid. And candidly, for urban districts like Troy, like Cohoes, like Albany, we really want our energies put into foundation aid, but everybody is talking about getting gap elimination aid out for a reason. Before foundation aid was the one formula every year they fudged around with and fooled around with. Now they've had gap elimination to fool around with. So we want to say, let's get that off the table. And actually, it's only about $485 million. I don't need to minimize the number. But if we're looking to try to get up towards $2 billion in aid, you can see where we can gap elimination off the table for $485 million. And then go back and start to focus on foundation aid, which really does favor urban districts like Troy. So that's kind of the strategy. Candidly, when I look at the districts I represent, and I'm trying to look really quick there because I forgot to look earlier. But your adjustment, there's not much left. We're almost done with GEA. It's about $24,000. So, you know, why
We don't need that.
That's a rounding error when a total message here. So we don't want to sit there and say, yeah, we got GEA, because that's not going to really help us. So understand when we're talking these discussions, and you know, Senate is focused. They're getting rid of gap elimination because just a little bit further from here is East Greenbush School District. I represent North Greenbush and Rensselaer, so some of my children go there. And guess what? Their GEA balance is about $1.4 million. So you can see why they are really focused on it. So the reality is, we're in a quagmire. We've got to put money into the process. We're going to try to make everybody happy when this all comes to the end of the process. At same talking, and John had reached out to me, I think it was at the end of June actually, and I talked to Ways and Means then, and we've been still working on how do we deal with this unique situation and all this transition going on with the charter schools. Albany by far has the highest enrollment of children in charter schools, it's about 18%. Troy, I haven't looked this past year, but before that, you're running about 15% of children in Troy go to a charter school. It's a very high percentage. To give you a base of comparison, Lackawanna, very small, 3%. New York City, it's like 1 or 2%. But Albany was designated as ground zero for charter schools back when they started. Probably Kathy, when you were working for the education department, and you know, it's been successful in some aspects, and as you know, it's also been unsuccessful in other aspects. So I'm not here to discuss the benefits of either or. I'm really here to focus on what's best for Troy City School District. So we will be focusing on that. Money is always the most important issue during the budget process. I know Kathy's aware of it. John brought this to my attention probably about 2 years ago. We've always had this challenge going on in regards to which district is responsible for which child when they're coming to charter schools. And we've had an ongoing process. To your district's credit, they really had taken the lead on going all the extra steps with the hearings and everything like that. And finally, we've gotten, it's a small thing, but it's a big thing, because trying to get little things out of state ed is not always a very easy thing to do. They've actually tried to really clarify the process for public schools and charter schools when it comes to a children's residency and what proof of residency is. And at the end of the day, people say, why is this so important? Well, every child that this city of Troy spends money on in a charter school costs you how much per head these days? 16,000, right? It's Albany, it's about 13,500, 16,000. I think we all agree that in Troy, we have a responsibility for paying for the children who live in Troy. That being said, we should be paying for kids who live in Albany or in Cohoes or Waterloo. And that's where we've had a lot, and I can tell you your administration does an awful lot of work on what sounds like a little issue, but at $16,000 a child, it can add up very quickly. So I think it's a small victory. Hopefully it'll help move things along, and coincidentally enough, because I do represent all the charter schools in the capital region as well, except for Ellis Connectivity, they're actually relieved to have some clarification. So that's what they told me. So hopefully everyone's going to claim this going forward, because it's been uncomfortable. We're spending a lot of time spinning our wheels, and when you look at your budget, you see this, you know, all these charges for charter schools, tuition. It's like, wait, what good is that doing for the children in this school district? As you know, what's been, I think, refreshing is the last 3 or 4 months, the governor has kind of been moving his positions on evaluations and APPR and all of the items that were causing a lot of noise last year during the budget process and through the end of June, and really was causing what I felt to be a lot of unnecessary anguish for families and children in classrooms, and teachers too as well. I'm not blaming anybody, but the reality is, you know, the governor established, what did I call it, Education Reform 3.0. It was the third task force in the last 5 years. And we have a new commissioner who seems pretty grounded in regards, she's practical. She comes from the education ranks. She's traveled the world a little bit, and she seems to be trying to put both feet forward in a practical manner. And hopefully we're going to start taking some of the pressure out of the classrooms, let teachers do what they do best, which is teach, as opposed to be worrying about, you know, how much time, how many tests we have to give, how much time we have to spend giving the tests. And it's caused just a terrible amount of friction. And I'm sure you've heard this as board members. It's terrible amount of stress between superintendent, principals, teachers, and then eventually it can't help but cause a lot of problems with parents and with children. So hopefully we're getting back to what's more important for the kids. I think we've got a little reprieve, so I think we're good, and hopefully we won't see a large movement on the opt-out for the exams as well. This district, we didn't have a lot of opt-out, nor did we, in the urban areas we did. It's mostly in the suburban and the rural areas that we did. So hopefully we won't see that, because personally, I understand why people did that last year. I don't fault anybody, but the bottom line is that, you know, there's an underlying message here that when times get tough, you don't take a time out and step back. You still plow through and try to work through it. So, now I could bore you all night long. My wife tells me that all the time, so it's pretty short. But I just want to share a few tidbits with you in that aspect. I'm hoping that this year is just going to be a great year for public education. I really do. As you know, the charter schools are working from a larger perspective, trying to get their piece of the pie as well. That's mostly emanating from New York City, and there's obviously political fights going on between New York City and the capital. So we kind of keep an eye on it. We try not to stand in the line of fire. It's never been positive to be in that way. But at the end of the day, I do think we're going to bring more resources to the table with not a lot of anguish. And at this time, if there's any questions or comments that you have on any topic, I'm more than welcome to entertain them.
I have one, John. I know you already know, but the Senate, Flanagan said right away, we'll get the GEA, we're not going to pass a budget. Do you get a sense they understand that restoring the GEA helps low needs districts and not high needs districts? And so I want there to be a restoration of GEA, because I assume that would mean a corresponding increase in foundation aid.
That's what our goal is. And once again, if do I think 2.4 billion is going to be added back in education aid? I don't think we're going to get to that number, but we're going to try, right? Do I think we're going to be somewhere north of 1.5 billion, maybe 1.8 billion? I'd probably put $1 on that. And so therefore, if there's 485 million for GEA, that leaves us a nice little package to work with to try to restore the foundation aid and get back to the commitment that the Campaign for Fiscal Equity was all about. And when you start talking about that, this district wins. This district wins big time. So the Senate, the challenge with the Senate is that most of the senators represent suburban and rural districts. So as much as we may not like what they're saying, you have to respect the fact that they're representing their constituents. And that's always been the challenge with education financing, which truly is the largest item we beat each other up over every single year.
And one more, I know the board members have some too. The Brindisi bill, is there any traction to that at all? He put the Small Cities Successful School Act out last year. The press conference.
Yeah. No, that's, I'm on that as well, and we're pushing that. That is, whether the bill gets passed or not is almost secondary to the fact is, do we use that methodology to put it in the formula? That's the goal. And not to put it in GEA, because we're getting rid of that, but to put it into the foundation formula. So that's part of it. You look at the upstate cities. I'm sorry. Listen, I'm a city guy. Myself and Senator Breslin, we represent 5 cities, the most of any other legislator in either house. So we are city people. We get it. We understand it. We respect it. We're happy. But cities are struggling financially. They are both in the public education realm, they are in the public services realm as well. And so we're trying to find every single way to keep them alive. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good things going on in the city of Troy, we all know that. But there's also a lot of challenges. One of the items I always remind my colleagues in Albany about at the legislature, because we get pushback, you live in the capital region, everything's going great. You got nanotech, you got this, you got that. I said, yeah, you got all the jobs. I said, yeah, we got all the jobs. So when the governor gave a State of the State address a couple weeks ago, did you hear about his poverty initiative that he's talking about? 10 of the most impoverished cities he's going to have a special fund for to help them develop plans on how to overcome poverty. Guess who 2 of the top 10 are? Troy and Albany. Now, I will say this now, you heard it first. I said this last night in conference. They are going to equally divide this money so they can actually develop plans to take a more comprehensive approach to addressing poverty, along the same lines of what you're doing in school too, right? But expand it to all aspects. Troy and Albany actually should probably partner together. I think we'll get more together than working on individual. Because let's face it, you know, there's a lot of bridges. There's 7 bridges between Waterford and Albany. I drive by them every day. We've got a lot of people running back and forth, and we can do an awful lot together in regards to helping address poverty. But the reality is this: we're struggling. Our tax bases are not going to grow at the level to keep up with the mandated expenses that are required. I'm not complaining about the expenses, but the reality is healthcare and pensions are not going away. They're a constant struggle. Let's find a way to make sure that we can put our resources in place so we can have positive outcomes in the future.
I have a question on a new funding that we got in this year's budget, the community schools money. What is that supposed to be used
Yeah, it's a
for?
good question. We ask those questions all the time. No, actually, the community schools are designated for districts that are susceptible to persistently failing school districts. You know, here in the city of Troy, we have at least one at this stage of the game. Hopefully that's it.
Not persistently, but
Struggling. Well, I use the word struggling. There are certain people like to use the word failing, which I think is a terrible word to use when you're talking about education. It just sets the wrong thing. But anyways, it's to help those struggling school districts provide some of the extra wraparound services. We're still trying to figure out how the formula came up. There is a formula for that too. But the good news is there's $75 million earmarked to recognize that doing the same old is not going to work. Looking holistically at the child, looking at the challenges that the child is facing, primarily outside of the classroom, it's a very important aspect. Adam knows this. When I was in college, we did little things, working closely with our school district. I always had this issue with the fact that you could go into some of the apartments in the city. You know, you go around with the police, you see a lot of things like that, right? And you'll see like 3 or 4 kids unrelated living in the same bedroom. How in God's name are these kids, 1, going to get a good night's sleep, 2, going to get some kind of decent nutrition, and 3, you think they're studying at home at nighttime?
No.
Not going to happen. So we've got to be able to provide all the additional tools and assets, you know, the after-school programs, the Saturday morning programs, the Thursday night programs. Those are important because we engage parents, we get them involved in their child's education. And, you know, admittedly, you know, some of these parents probably have struggled with their own education, so therefore it makes it more difficult for them to sit down and support their child at night. But if we can help provide some of those tools, that child has a great opportunity to be that much more successful.
Thank you. Anyone has a question for us on that?
I'm just wondering, are they ever going to attack the formulas themselves? Sometimes to me it seems like, I'm not a financial person on this board by any means, but
Well,
the formulas to me make no sense. And it would be nice if they were really more transparent so that, you know, the average citizen could understand why we get what we get.
It's much better than it used to be, right?
Yeah.
We did foundation, a couple of basic core moving parts now, whereas before it was just a patchwork.
It's 41 pages long, the formula.
Well, is that
It's-
necessary?
No, it's not necessary, but the reality is, like anything else, when you've been, you know, and I don't know if it's a good example, you know, I always use the example of twisted spaghetti, but did you ever pick up like those wires that have been sitting in the thing, you have to untangle them, and they're not untangleable? Well, that's what's happened with the education formula over the generations. Not the last 3 years, the last 5 years. Over the last 30 or 40 years, it has just been fudged so much, and it's been manipulated this way, manipulated that way. And yes, it's politics, but I don't mean that in a bad sense. It's basically legislators going to the leadership saying, this is what my people need, and this is what my people need. And the reality is, we are one New York, but we are one New York with a lot of different options. When I have to hear my colleagues in Westchester, or even a few that are in Long Island, there's not a lot of Democrats in Long Island, get up and say, this is unbelievable, unacceptable. We can't have our equestrian program drop next year. We know that we're talking a couple different areas. We're not talking, so it's part of the process. You know, some people are holding out that, you know, the leadership changes next year in the Senate, that the Democrats be in control. We've already seen that play once before. It didn't work out too well, so I don't know how it will work out again. But technically, that may be the opportunity. I'm not rooting for or against that. I don't want to get in the middle of that. But it's part of the challenge. And at the same token, my colleagues who I work very close with on the other side of the aisle, I respect the fact that they're doing what they're supposed to do, which is to represent their constituents as well. And no one, there's only 3 people who understand the formula, and one of them just retired. Jocelyn retired. She retired. So there's only 2 people left, so they get escorted in and out of the building very carefully. But it's that complicated. But everything's complicated these days. It's just unbelievable.
Ms. Ryan, you have a question?
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, I want to thank you for being a representative of ours that understands our community, understands our district. So I really want to thank you because on 9 years that I've been on the board, I don't think someone has stood in front of us that really gets us, that really gets our schools too, and really gets our community. So, I mean, I thank you as a board member.
You've got a great administration that invites the public. But you know what, we're invited over regularly, we come over regularly. My wife's a teacher in Lansingburg, so pillow talk is quite noisy at night, because I hear a lot of the same issues, and she used to complain about the kids from Cohoes coming to Lansingburg to Cohoes, so guess what, they come up this way too, right? They go north and south as well. So, but you know, it's part of what we do.
I did want to chime in that in the Maestro case that's working its way through the courts, the state recently agreed that foundation aid is supposed to be the cost of a basic education. And as we know in Troy, we are underfunded in our foundation aid by what, $9 million? So it's not only understanding the formula, it's fully funding it.
And that is the whole process, and we continue to try to beat that drum. And this will not make you feel any better, but you know, it's kind of funny when you run a city, you're kind of responsible. You put a budget together, you got to make it, and you have commitments, you got to make it, right? That's the way it works, right? It doesn't apply at the state sometimes. I was shocked. You know, I knew about CFD and all the other small cities, so, and I knew that they were down, not making their commitment. And then it kind of really hit home with me when we were conferencing for the first time, my first time, the higher education budget. And we were talking about what's it about? Big issue community colleges. We've been shorting them, and there's not even any kind of apology by 40% of their funding for their education for all these SUNYs and the community colleges. And I remember getting in Congress saying, it says in the Constitution, oh yeah, don't worry about that. That's just what we're going to pay. I'm like, but that's just how it's. In the reality, it's this: you don't have the money, you don't have the money, and that's I guess the beauty of being at the state. At the same token, once again, as our economy improves, it's an opportunity to carefully restore funding to where it belongs. And I firmly believe education, workforce development is where it belongs. Today, the youth build group from Troy, from CEO is down. You know, good kids. It's exciting. We want to make sure that we can bring as much CTE into the schools as soon as possible. There is a big emphasis on making sure that, you know, we don't want a child to wait till they're junior in high school and start thinking about what they're doing. We want it introduced in the 7th grade and in the 8th grade. And more and more districts, as they are finally able to stop talking about we're laying off 30, we're laying off 40, start to look back at those programs. So we know what our job is to let you, the local members, do your job. We need to fund you, and you decide what your community needs.
So, thank you very much for coming tonight.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, I'm going to make a motion to go back into executive executive session, and all I need is Mr. Carmelo and Mr. Hogan.
Before we adjourn for
Yes.
the night, can I just say, I went to several games over the past couple of weeks of basketball games. And it amazes me every time when I go to one of our games, the spirit that our kids have in this school district. I think you could go to any other school district and they're unbelievable. And Joe, they are I mean, you should be proud of your kids. They are well behaved. I mean, the gym was packed Friday night when we played Shen, Sunday when we played Green Tech, and even last night when we played Albany. Our kids were well behaved, and it wasn't our kids. If there were issues, it wasn't ours. I mean, which I hate to say it was somebody else's. But when I sat there, and in 1973, I sat in that gym, and that's how crowded it was. And it was just, I mean, it was really a lot of heart with those kids. I mean, you should be proud of your kids, Trevor.
I'll just follow up with that. At the Shaker game, we were at Shaker, and our kids were louder than their kids.
A parent actually said that to me.
You know, they were doing the defense at the end, and it was like it was our gym, so you're right.
And CBA, but who's counting?
And before we go.
Our superintendent was now because he's right. Yeah, do the seat like that. He does it once in a while. And he does get into it.
Sure. Motion made,
Wait,
seconded.
sorry,
Mrs.
Sorry,
Harper
sorry.
abstained, January 13, 20, and 25th. I looked at my calendar.
Thank you.
13.
Mrs. Bruno will have that reflected in the record. All right, all those in favor, go back downstairs.
Ah.
Everybody else have a good night.
I don't know that.